The air in Pioneer Square buzzed with the hum of Seattle's art scene, a vibrant pulse of creativity that seemed to vibrate through the cobblestone streets. It was a crisp autumn evening, where the city's fog clung to the edges of the Puget Sound and lent a soft glow to the gallery lights spilling onto the sidewalk. Inside the Canvas Haven Gallery, the crowd milled about art collectors in tailored suits, bohemian painters with paint-splattered jeans, and curious onlookers sipping overpriced wine. The room was alive with murmurs, the clink of glasses, and the occasional gasp of admiration for the vivid works lining the walls. At the center of it all stood Hannah Lee, an African-American artist whose presence was as striking as her paintings. Her dark skin glowed under the gallery's warm lighting, and her tightly coiled hair was swept into an elegant updo, a few curls escaping to frame her face. She wore a deep emerald dress that flowed like a brushstroke, its simplicity a deliberate contrast to the complexity of her art. Her paintings' bold abstracts, swirling with blues, golds, and fiery reds, commanded attention. Each canvas seemed to pulse with emotion, as if she'd poured her soul into every stroke. Tonight was her first major solo exhibition, and its weight sat heavily on her shoulders, though she carried herself with quiet confidence. Across the room, Lucas Bennett, a white American tech billionaire, stood out in his own way. The faintest hint of stubble softened his fair skin and sharp jawline, and his piercing blue eyes scanned the room with a restless curiosity. Dressed in a charcoal suit tailored to perfection, he looked the part of a man who owned half of Seattle's skyline. At 38, Lucas was a titan in the tech world, known for his ruthless efficiency and a knack for turning startups into empires. But tonight, he wasn't here for business. He'd come to escape the sterile boardrooms and endless emails drawn to the gallery by a whim, a need for something real, something raw. His gaze landed on one of Hannah's paintings, a massive canvas titled Unraveled Threads. It was chaotic, yet deliberate, a storm of colors that seemed to shift the longer he stared. Blues bled into golds, which spiraled into deep crimsons, as if the painting were alive, whispering secrets he couldn't quite grasp. He stepped closer, his polished shoes clicking against the hardwood floor, and read the placard, Hannah Lee, Untitled Series Not for Sale. The words, not for sale, irked him. Everything had a price. He found her standing near the painting, her arms crossed, as she spoke to a wiry man with a notepad, likely a critic. Lucas waited until the man wandered off before approaching. "This is yours?" he asked, gesturing to the canvas. Hannah turned her brown eyes sharp and assessing. She sized him up instantly. His expensive suit, his confident posture, the way he seemed to own the space he occupied. "Yes," she said, her voice steady but guarded. "It's mine." "It's incredible," Lucas said, and he meant it. He wasn't one for flattery, but the painting stirred something in him, a flicker of unease and fascination. "Why isn't it for sale?" Hannah's lips pressed into a thin line. "It's personal," she said, her tone clipped. "Some things aren't meant to be owned." Lucas raised an eyebrow, intrigued by her defiance. Most artists would leap at the chance to sell to someone like him. "Everything's got a price," he said, testing her. "Not this," she replied, her gaze unwavering. "Not everything is a transaction." He smiled, a slow, calculated grin that usually disarmed people. It didn't work on her. She turned away, her attention shifting to another guest, leaving him oddly unsettled. He wasn't used to being dismissed. As the evening wore on, Lucas couldn't shake her from his mind. He wandered the gallery, glancing at other works, but his eyes drifted back to Unraveled Threads and Hannah. There was something familiar about her, though he couldn't place it. Then he saw her signature, a looping H. Lee scrawled in the corner of the canvas. It hit him like a jolt. Years ago, when he'd acquired a failing art tech startup, He'd overseen a wave of layoffs. One of the names on the list had been an H. Lee, a junior designer whose portfolio he'd barely glanced at before signing off on her termination. Could it be the same person? The thought gnawed at him. He watched her from across the room, laughing softly with a group of artists, her warmth starkly contrasting to the guarded woman who'd rebuffed him. If she were the same H. Lee, she'd clawed her way up from nothing, building a name for herself in a cutthroat industry. He admired that. He also wanted answers. He approached her again as the crowd began to thin. "Ms. Lee," he said, his voice smoother this time, "I'd like to talk about your work." Over coffee, Hannah's eyes narrowed. She said, "I don't do coffee with strangers," but there was a flicker of curiosity in her expression. "And you are?" "Lucas Bennett," he said, extending a hand. She didn't take it. "I know who you are," she said, her voice cool. "Tech guy. Big money. What's someone like you doing in a place like this?" "Looking for something real," he said, holding her gaze. "And I found it." She studied him for a moment, then turned away. "Good luck with that," she said over her shoulder, disappearing into the crowd. Lucas stood there, his hands still extended, a rare feeling of defeat creeping in. But it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. He'd built an empire by chasing what he wanted, and right now he wanted to know Hannah Lee, her story, her art, her fire. He'd find a way to get through to her, even if she were determined to keep him at arm's length. The next morning, Lucas sat in his corner office on the 42nd floor of Bennett Innovations, the Seattle skyline sprawling beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. His desk was a slab of polished oak, cluttered with monitors, and a single framed photo of his late father, the only personal touch in the sleek, minimalist space. He leaned back in his chair, scrolling through a dossier his assistant had compiled on Hannah Lee. Born and raised in Seattle's Central District, she'd attended an underfunded public school before earning a scholarship to an art institute. After a brief stint in tech there, it was her time at his startup. She'd pivoted to painting, scraping by, until her work caught the eye of a local curator. There was no social media presence, no public scandals, just a quiet determination that led to tonight's exhibition. He tapped his pen against the desk, his mind racing. She wasn't just talented. She was resilient, a survivor. He respected that, but he also saw an opportunity. Her art could be a bridge to soften his company's image, which had taken a beating after recent layoffs. A partnership with an up-and-coming artist like Hannah could be a PR win and a chance to unravel the mystery of her. He called his assistant, a sharp young woman named Priya. "Get me a meeting with Hannah Lee," he said. "Offer her whatever it takes. Studio space, funding a solo show. Make it happen." Priya hesitated. "Sir, her gallery contact says she's particular. She might not bite. Then find out what she wants." Lucas said, his voice firm. "Everyone wants something." Hannah's studio was a cramped loft above a coffee shop in Pioneer Square, the air thick with the scent of turpentine and roasted beans. She stood before a half-finished canvas, her hands smeared with ultramarine paint, her mind still replaying the encounter with Lucas Bennett. She didn't trust him. Men like him, rich, powerful, used to getting their way, always had an agenda. She'd learned the hard way after losing her job at his startup years ago. The memory still stung, the curt email, the sudden loss of income, the months of scraping by while her art career limped along. She'd vowed never to let someone like him control her life again. Her phone buzzed on the workbench, displaying an unknown number. She ignored it, dipping her brush into a pot of crimson paint. The phone buzzed again. Annoyed, she wiped her hands on a rag and answered. "Hello, Miss Lee. This is Priya Sharma, Lucas Bennett's assistant. He'd like to meet with you to discuss a potential collaboration." Hannah's grip tightened on the phone. "I'm not interested," she said, her voice flat. Mr. Bennett is prepared to support your work significantly, Priya said smoothly. Funding for a new exhibition, a larger studio, anything you need to take your career to the next level. Hannah laughed a sharp, bitter sound. Tell Mr. Bennett I don't need his charity. I'm doing fine on my own. She hung up before Priya could respond, her heart pounding. The nerve of him thinking he could buy her with a checkbook. She turned to her canvas, but her focus disappeared, replaced by a nagging curiosity. Why was he so interested in her? Was it just the painting, or was there something else? 2 days later, Lucas stood outside the Canvas Haven Gallery, watching workers dismantle Hannah's exhibition. He'd tried calling her again, but she'd blocked his number. He wasn't deterred. If anything, her resistance only fueled his determination. He pushed open the gallery door and found her inside, carefully wrapping a canvas in brown paper. Ms. Lee, he said, his voice carrying across the space. She stiffened, but didn't turn around. You're persistent, she said, taping the paper with deliberate precision. I'm interested, he said, stepping closer. Your work is exceptional. I want to help you share it with the world. She turned, her eyes blazing. I don't need your help, Mr. Bennett, and I don't trust your motives. Fair enough, he said, unfazed. But I'm not here to buy you off. I'm offering a partnership, a solo show fully funded anywhere you want. New York, Paris, you name it. Hannah crossed her arms, her expression unyielding. Why me? You don't even know me. I know talent when I see it, he said. And I know you're more than just a painter. There's a story behind your work, and I want to help you tell it. She studied him, searching for a crack in his polished facade. You're used to getting what you want, aren't you? He smiled, a glint of challenge in his eyes. Usually, but I'm willing to work for it this time. Hannah didn't respond, but didn't tell him to leave either. For now, that was enough. Lucas walked out of the gallery, the seed of a plan taking root. He'd find a way to earn her trust, even if it meant unraveling his past. The kitschiness lay in what he didn't yet know. Hannah Lee wasn't just a puzzle to solve. She was a force, one that would challenge everything he thought he understood about ambition, art, and redemption. The morning after Lucas Bennett visited the Canvas Haven Gallery, Hannah Lee stood in her studio, staring at the half-packed crates that held her life's work. The loft was a chaos of canvas rolls, paint tubes, and scattered sketches, each one a piece of her she wasn't ready to let go. She'd spent years building this space, this sanctuary in the heart of Pioneer Square. The idea of someone like Lucas, a man who built empires by tearing things down, invading her world, made her skin crawl. Yet his offer lingered in her mind, a siren call of opportunity wrapped in suspicion. She shook her head, brushing a stray curl from her face, and turned to a fresh canvas. She dipped a brush into a pot of cadmium yellow, letting the color bleed across the surface in a bold, defiant stroke. Painting was her anchor, her way of making sense of a world that often felt too big, too cruel. She didn't need Lucas Bennett's money or his promises. She'd clawed her way to this point without him, and kept going the same way. Her phone buzzed again, the third call from an unknown number that week. She ignored it, focusing on the canvas, but the buzzing persisted, relentless as a mosquito. With a sigh, she wiped her hands and answered. What now? Ms. Lee. It's Priya Sharma again, came the calm, professional voice. Mr. Bennett would like to invite you to his office to discuss a potential collaboration. He's prepared to meet on your terms. Hannah's jaw tightened. I told you I'm not interested. He can't buy me. I understand, Priya said, unfazed. But he's offering more than funding. He's proposing a partnership to amplify your voice as an artist, a solo exhibition curated by you with complete creative control. Hannah hesitated, her brush hovering over the canvas. Creative control was rare in a world where galleries and sponsors often dictated terms. But Lucas wasn't a gallery owner or a patron. He was a tech mogul with a reputation for swallowing entire industries. She'd heard whispers about his latest project, a redevelopment plan that could turn Pioneer Square into a gleaming hub of condos and tech offices. Her studio community and everything she'd built could be at risk if actual. She told him, "I'll think about it," hanging up before Priya could press further. She didn't trust Lucas, but wasn't foolish enough to dismiss him outright. If he were serious about supporting her art, she'd make him prove it on her terms. Lucas's office was a stark contrast to Hannah's cluttered studio. Perched high above Seattle, it was all glass and steel, a monument to his success. He stood by the window, watching the ferries glide across Puget Sound, his mind on Hannah. She was a challenge, a puzzle he couldn't resist. Her defiance intrigued him, but so did her talent. He'd spent years surrounded by sycophants and opportunists. Hannah was neither. She was real, and he wanted her in his orbit, not just for her art, but for the spark she'd ignited in him. A reminder of the hunger he'd felt before wealth dulled his edges. Priya knocked and entered her tablet in hand. She didn't say no, she reported. She said she'll think about it. Lucas grinned. That's a start. Set up a meeting. Neutral ground her choice. Priya nodded, but her expression was cautious. There's something else. I heard from a contact at the city planning office. There's a rumor that your redevelopment project includes Pioneer Square. If Hannah catches wind of it, she'll never trust you. Lucas's smile faded. The redevelopment project was a sensitive topic, a sprawling initiative to modernize Seattle's older districts. Pioneer Square was on the list, but he delegated the details to his team, trusting them to handle the optics. If Hannah thought he planned to bulldoze her neighborhood, it would ruin any chance of working with her. Find out who's leaking that rumor, he said, his voice sharp, and make it clear I'm not signing off on anything that destroys the arts district. We're investing in it, not tearing it down. Priya nodded and left, leaving Lucas to his thoughts. He pulled up a file on his computer, a draft proposal for Hannah's exhibition. It included funding for a year-long residency, a new studio, and a global tour. He wanted to give her the world, not because he thought she needed it, but because he believed she deserved it. But first he had to convince her he wasn't the enemy. A week later, Hannah stepped into the sleek lobby of Bennett Innovations, her boots echoing on the marble floor. She'd chosen this meeting place deliberately, his turf, where she could see him in his element and gauge his intentions. She wore a simple black blazer over a white blouse, her hair pulled back into a low bun. She didn't want to look like she was trying to impress him, but she wasn't about to walk in looking like she didn't belong. The receptionist led her to a conference room with a view of the Space Needle. Lucas was standing by a table covered with architectural renderings and art catalogs. He smiled as she entered, a genuine warmth that caught her off guard. "Thanks for coming," he said, gesturing to a chair. "I know you're skeptical, so I'll get to the point. I want to fund a solo exhibition for you. Complete creative control, no strings attached. You pick the venue, the theme, everything." Hannah sat crossing her arms. "That's a generous offer," she said, her tone neutral. "But I don't work with people I don't trust. And I've heard things about you, Lucas. Things that make me wonder what you're really after." He leaned forward, his eyes steady. "Ask me anything. I'll be straight with you." She studied him, searching for a lie in his expression. "There's talk about your company buying up Pioneer Square and turning it into some tech utopia. My studio's there. My community's there. If that's true, we've got nothing to talk about." Lucas's jaw tightened, but he didn't look away. "I'm not in the business of destroying communities," he said. "My team's working on a redevelopment plan, but it's about investment. New galleries, affordable housing spaces for artists like you. Not condos and coffee shops. If you don't believe me, I'll show you the plans." Hannah raised an eyebrow. "Show me now." He hesitated, then pulled out his tablet and opened a file. It was a detailed proposal with renderings of renovated warehouses turned into art spaces, green rooftops, and pedestrian-friendly streets. It looked promising, but Hannah wasn't convinced. She'd seen too many glossy proposals turn into broken promises. "I'll need more than pretty pictures," she said. "I need proof you're not going to tear down my world." "Fair enough," Lucas said. "Come to a dinner I'm hosting tomorrow night. Lake Washington, my yacht. I'll introduce you to the team behind the project. You can ask them anything. There is no filter." Hannah leaned back, weighing her options. She didn't trust him, but she couldn't ignore the opportunity. A solo exhibition could put her work on the map and give her a platform to protect the arts district. But if Lucas were playing her, she'd fall into a trap. "Fine," she said finally. "But if I smell a lie, I'm out." He nodded, a spark of respect in his eyes. "Deal." The next evening, Hannah stood on the deck of Lucas's yacht, the Aurora, as it glided across Lake Washington. The skyline twinkled in the distance, a reminder of the stakes at play. She wore a deep blue dress that hugged her frame, chosen for confidence rather than charm. The dinner was a small affair, Lucas, a few urban planners, and a curator from a prominent gallery. The conversation was polite but guarded, with Hannah probing the planners about their intentions for Pioneer Square. As dessert was served, she excused herself to the restroom, her mind racing. The planners had echoed Lucas's vision, but something felt off. She slipped into a quiet hallway, noticing a stack of folders left on a table. Curiosity got the better of her. She opened one, her heart sinking as she read the words, "Demolition Schedule, Pioneer Square Redevelopment Phase 1. Her hands trembled as she skimmed the document. It outlined plans to raise several blocks for a tech campus, including her studio's building. Lucas's name was on every page, and his signature was at the bottom. She felt a surge of betrayal, her suspicions confirmed. He'd lied to her face. She marched back to the deck, the folder clutched in her hand. Lucas laughed with the curator, but his smile faded when he saw her expression. "What's wrong?" he asked. "This," she said, slamming the folder onto the table. "You said you weren't tearing down Pioneer Square. Explain this." The planners exchanged nervous glances. Lucas's face darkened as he opened the folder, eyes scanning the pages. "This isn't right," he said, his voice low. "This was scrapped months ago. I never approved this." Hannah crossed her arms. "Your signature's on it, Lucas. Don't play me for a fool." "I'm not," he said, his tone urgent. "Someone's trying to sabotage this. I'll find out who." She wanted to believe him, but the evidence was damning. She said, "You've got one chance to prove you're telling the truth. If you're lying, I'll ensure every artist in this city knows who you are." Lucas met her gaze unflinching. "I'll prove it. Give me time." As the yacht docked, Hannah walked away, her mind a storm of doubt and determination. Lucas watched her go, his fists clenched. Someone was playing a dangerous game, and he needed to find out who before he lost Hannah's trust for good. The kitschiness lay in the shadows in the unseen hand that had planted the folder, setting the stage for a collision neither of them could see. The night air on Lake Washington was cool, carrying the faint scent of pine and salt water, as Hannah Lee stepped off Lucas Bennett's yacht, the Aurora. Her mind a tangle of anger and doubt. The folder she'd found its pages, detailing a demolition plan for Pioneer Square, with Lucas's signature burned in her memory. She clutched her purse tightly, her heels clicking against the dock as she strode toward the waiting car. Lucas had sworn the document was a mistake, a relic of a scrapped plan, but his words felt hollow. She'd seen too many promises broken by men like him, men who wielded power like a paintbrush, reshaping the world to suit their vision. Back at her studio, Hannah paced the creaky floorboards, the dim light casting shadows across her canvases. The space was her sanctuary, a haven carved out of years of struggle in Pioneer Square's vibrant, gritty heart. The idea of it being reduced to rubble for a tech campus made her stomach churn. She sat at her workbench, flipping open her laptop to search for any public records on Bennett Innovation's redevelopment plans. The city's planning website was a maze of jargon, but she found a vague press release about revitalizing historic districts. No specifics, no mention of demolition. If Lucas was telling the truth, why was that folder on his yacht? And if he was lying, what was his endgame? Her phone buzzed with a text from Lucas. "I'm looking into the document. Meet me tomorrow at the project office. I'll show you everything." She stared at the message, her thumb hovering over the reply button. Part of her wanted to ignore him, to cut him out entirely. But another part, the part that had fought her way through a cutthroat art world, knew she couldn't walk away without answers. She typed a single word: "Fine." The next morning, Hannah arrived at the project office, a sleek, downtown Seattle building, with glass walls reflecting the overcast sky. She wore a tailored jacket and jeans, her hair swept into a loose braid, projecting confidence she didn't feel. Inside, Lucas waited in a conference room, surrounded by blueprints and 3D models of proposed developments. He stood as she entered, his expression serious, but not defensive. "Thanks for coming," he said, gesturing to a chair. "I know you don't trust me right now, but I will explain everything." Hannah sat, her arms crossed. "Start with the folder. Why was it on your yacht?" Lucas exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "I don't know yet. I've got my team digging into it. That plan was scrapped 6 months ago after community pushback. We shifted to Preservation Gallery Studios, affordable housing. My signature was on an old draft, not the current one." "Then how did it end up on your table?" She pressed her voice sharp. "You expect me to believe it just appeared?" he said. "I'm not asking you to believe me meeting her gaze. I'm asking you to let me prove it. These are the current plans." He slid a thick binder across the table with renderings of renovated warehouses, public art installations, and green spaces. "We're meeting with the city council next week. Come with me. Ask them anything." Hannah flipped through the binder, her artist's eye catching the thoughtful integration of historic facades with modern design. It looked genuine, but she'd learned long ago that appearances could deceive. If this is real, why the secrecy? Why not make it public? "We were going to," Lucas said. "However, leaks like that folder can tank a project before it starts. Someone's trying to stir trouble." "Who?" she asked. "Who benefits from making you look like the bad guy?" He hesitated, his jaw tightening. "I have a few guesses, but no proof. Yet." Hannah leaned back, studying him. He seemed sincere, but sincerity could be a performance. "I'll come to the council meeting," she said finally. "But I'm not signing on to anything until I see hard evidence you're not playing me." "Fair," he said, a flicker of respect in his eyes. "One more thing. I'm hosting a dinner tonight on the yacht again. Key stakeholders will be there, planners and community leaders. I'd like you to come not as my guest, but as a voice for Pioneer Square. Speak for your community." She raised an eyebrow. "You're giving me a platform. I'm giving you a chance to hold me accountable," he said. "If I'm lying, call me out in front of everyone." It was a bold move, and Hannah couldn't help but admire the audacity. "I'll be there," she said, "but don't expect me to play nice." He smiled, a hint of challenge in his expression. "I wouldn't dream of it." That evening, the aurora gleamed under the stars, its deck lined with fairy lights and tables set with crisp linens. Hannah arrived in a deep burgundy dress, her presence commanding as she stepped aboard. The guest list was small, but influential city planners, a local council member, and a few artists from Pioneer Square she recognized. Lucas greeted her with a nod, keeping his distance as she mingled her sharp questions, cutting through the polite small talk. As the main course was served, a man in a pinstriped suit stood to speak. Hannah recognized him as Victor Grayson, a prominent art collector with a reputation for aggressive acquisitions. His voice carried a smug edge as he addressed the group. "I must commend Lucas for his vision," he said, raising a glass. "But let's be honest, his taste in art isn't always as pure as his business deals." "Remember that fiasco with the Rothko?" A murmur rippled through the crowd. Hannah's ears perked up. Lucas's face remained neutral, but his grip on his wine glass tightened. Grayson smirked. "Oh, come on, Lucas. Everyone knows you bought that fake Rothko 5 years ago to inflate the market. Made a tidy profit before anyone caught on." The air grew thick with tension. Hannah watched Lucas closely, waiting for his reaction. He set his glass down, his voice calm but laced with steel. "That was a mistake. Victor and I owned it. The piece was vetted by experts who missed the mark. I sold it back at a loss to make it right." Grayson chuckled, undeterred. "Sure, but it's a pattern. You play fast and loose with art, just like you do with real estate. Word is, Pioneer Square's next on your chopping block." Hannah's heart raced. She stood, her voice cutting through the silence. "Is that true, Mr. Bennett? Because I've seen documents that say exactly that." All eyes turned to Lucas. He didn't flinch. "Those documents are outdated," he said, addressing the group. "My company is committed to preserving Pioneer Square's cultural core. I invited Ms. Lee here to see the truth for herself. If anyone has evidence to the contrary, bring it forward. Now." No one spoke. Grayson's smirk faltered, and he sank back into his chair. Hannah held Lucas's gaze, her mind racing. He'd easily handled the accusation, but Grayson's words lingered, planting seeds of doubt. Was Lucas a master manipulator, or was he being framed? As the dinner ended, Lucas approached her. "You didn't hold back," he said, a wry smile on his lips. "You told me to call you out," she replied. "I'm not done yet." "Good," he said. "I'd be disappointed if you were." Back in her studio, Hannah couldn't shake the evening's events. Grayson's accusation about the fake Rothko was new to her, raising questions about Lucas's integrity. She pulled up old news articles, digging into the story. Sure enough, 5 years ago, Lucas had been linked to a forged painting scandal. He'd claimed ignorance, paid a hefty fine, and moved on, but the stain remained. If he'd manipulated the art market once, what stopped him from doing it again with her work or her neighborhood? She texted a friend, Maya, a curator with deep ties to Seattle's art scene. "Heard anything about Lucas Bennett and fake art deals? Or his plans for Pioneer Square?" Maya's reply came quickly. "Nothing solid on the art, but there's buzz about his company buying up properties. Be careful, Hannah. He's charming, but he's a shark." The warning settled like a weight in her chest. She needed to protect her community, her art, herself. But Lucas's offer, a solo exhibition, a platform to amplify her voice, was tempting. Maybe she could turn the tables if she could use his resources without falling into his trap. The kitschiness lay in the confrontation when she stood up to him before Seattle's elite. But the real struggle was beginning, and Hannah knew she'd need every ounce of her resolve to navigate the storm ahead. The fallout from the yacht dinner spread like wildfire through Seattle's art community. By morning, whispers of Hannah Lee's connection to Lucas Bennett had morphed into full-blown rumors. Social media posts speculated about her motives, some calling her a sellout, others accusing her of cozying up to a corporate titan to boost her career. She scrolled through the comments on her phone, her jaw clenched as she read Hannah Lee's "just another artist chasing Bennett's money." Shame. The words stung, not because they were true, but because they came from her own community, the people she'd fought alongside to keep Pioneer Square's soul alive. Hannah tossed her phone onto the workbench, which landed among paint tubes and scattered brushes. She'd expected pushback, But not this. The art scene was tight-knit, fiercely protective of its independence, and Lucas embodied everything they distrusted: wealth, power, and a track record of bending the world to his will. By associating with him even tangentially, she'd become a target. She headed to the Canvas Haven Gallery, hoping to clear her head. The space was quiet now, her exhibition packed away, but the owner, Clara, greeted her warmly. "Rough morning?" Clara asked, handing her a coffee. "You saw the posts?" Hannah asked, taking the cup. Clara nodded. "People talk. They always do. But you're not the type to sell out, Hannah. They'll see that eventually." "I hope so," Hannah said, sipping the coffee. "I just wanted answers about his plans for Pioneer Square. Now I'm the bad guy." Clara leaned against the counter. "Lucas Bennett's a lightning rod. You stand too close, you get burned. But you're smart. Use him, not the other way around." Hannah nodded, but the weight of the rumors lingered. She needed to regain her community's trust fast. An idea sparked: her next exhibition could be a statement, a celebration of Pioneer Square's resilience. But to pull it off, she'd need resources, and Lucas's offer was still on the table. Meanwhile, Lucas sat in his office, scrolling through the same social media storm. The posts were vicious, not just about Hannah, but about him. Bennett's buying artists now typical. His PR team was already in damage control mode, drafting statements to counter the narrative. He rubbed his temples, frustration mounting. He'd invited Hannah to the yacht to build trust, not to drag her into a scandal. And Victor Grayson's stunt, bringing up the Rothko forgery, had poured fuel on the fire. He called Priya into his office. "What's the damage?" he asked. "It's bad," Priya said, her tablet glowing with analytics. "The art community's painting you as a villain, and Hannah's caught in the crossfire. There's also chatter about the Pioneer Square demolition rumor. It's gaining traction." Lucas cursed under his breath. "That folder was planted. I want to know who's behind it." "I'm working on it," Priya said. "But there's something else. Hannah's getting the worst of it. Artists are boycotting her work. If this keeps up, her career could take a hit." Lucas's stomach twisted. He'd wanted to elevate her, not tear her down. "Reach out to her," he said. "Offer whatever she needs: studio space, security, a response platform. And find her a new space to work, somewhere secure." Priya raised an eyebrow. "You sure? She's not exactly your biggest fan." "She doesn't have to like me," Lucas said. "She needs to know I'm not the enemy." 2 days later, Hannah received an email from Priya. "Mr. Bennett has secured a new studio for you in Belltown. Fully equipped, top security. He's also offering to fund a press conference to address the rumors. Let me know what you need." Attached were photos of a sleek, sunlit loft with high ceilings and a view of the Sound. It was a dream space, far beyond what she could afford. Her first instinct was to refuse. She didn't want to owe Lucas anything. But her current studio was cramped, and the rumors made it harder to work without interruption. She needed a fresh start. She agreed to see the space. The Belltown loft was even better in person, with expansive windows and enough room for her most enormous canvases. A security system blinked discreetly in the corner, and a note from Lucas sat on the counter. "No strings. Use this to create. Prove them wrong." She crumpled the note, torn between gratitude and suspicion. He was making it hard to hate him. That evening, she hosted a small gathering at the new studio, inviting a few trusted artists from Pioneer Square. The plan was to brainstorm her next exhibition, but the mood was tense. "You're working with Bennett now?" asked Jamal, a sculptor with a shaved head and a piercing stare. "After everything he's done, I'm not working with him," Hannah said, her voice firm. "He offered this space, and I took it to keep creating. My next show's for us, for Pioneer Square, to show we're not going anywhere." Jamal crossed his arms. "Hard to believe when you're in his pocket." "I'm not," she snapped. You know me, Jamal. I've been fighting for this community longer than most. If you don't trust me, come to the show. See for yourself." The others murmured agreement, but the skepticism lingered. As they left, Hannah felt the weight of their doubt. She needed to deliver something undeniable that would silence the critics and rally her community. The night of the studio's opening arrived a soft launch meant to showcase the space and preview her new work. Hannah had spent days preparing her hands stained with paint as she poured her frustration into a massive canvas, a swirling ode to Pioneer Square's grit and beauty. She wore a simple black dress, her hair loose, and greeted guests with a forced smile. The turnout was small, but loyal Clara Maya and a few collectors who'd stayed by her side. As the evening wound down, a crash shattered the quiet. Hannah spun around to see her new canvas on the floor, slashed to ribbons. Paint cans were overturned, their contents pooling like blood on the hardwood. The guests gasped, and Clara rushed to her side. "Who did this?" she demanded. Hannah's heart pounded as she scanned the room. The security system hadn't gone off, meaning whoever did this had access. She called the police, who arrived quickly, taking statements and dusting for prints. Lucas showed up within the hour, his face grim as he surveyed the damage. "This wasn't random," Hannah said, her voice shaking with anger. "Someone's sending a message." Lucas nodded, his jaw tight. "I'll cover the damages. And I'm upgrading the security cameras, guards, whatever you need." She said, "I don't need your money, though." Her voice wavered. "I need to know who's doing this." "I'm working on it," he said. "I've got people looking into the folder. The rumors, all of it. This feels personal." Hannah met his gaze, searching for a lie. She saw none, but trust was still a long way off. "Find them," she said. "Or I will." The next morning, Hannah sifted through the wreckage of her studio, salvaging what she could. A glint of metal caught her eye. A small keychain half buried under a pile of ruined sketches. It bore the logo of Kane Enterprises, a name she recognized. Olivia Kane, Lucas's former business partner, had been a rising star in Seattle's tech scene before a public falling out with him years ago. The keychain wasn't proof, but it was a lead. She called Maya, who had connections across the city. "What do you know about Olivia Kane?" Hannah asked. Maya's voice was cautious. "She's in trouble. They used to run with Lucas, but they split over some bad deal. She's got a grudge and deep pockets. If she's behind this, she's playing dirty." Hannah's mind raced. Olivia could be planting rumors, leaking documents, or even orchestrating the vandalism. But why target her? Was it to hurt Lucas, or was there more to the story? She needed answers and wouldn't wait for Lucas to find them. She texted him, "We need to talk. Now." The kitschiness lay in the wreckage of her studio, a deliberate strike meant to break her spirit. But Hannah Lee was not so easily broken. She'd fight back with her art and her resolve, and whoever was behind this would learn that hard. Once a beacon of possibility, the Belltown studio now felt like a crime scene. Hannah Lee stood amid the wreckage of her slashed canvas, the air heavy with the acrid scent of spilled paint. The keychain with the Kane Enterprises logo lay on her workbench, a silent accusation. She'd texted Lucas Bennett the night before demanding answers, but his response, "I'm handling it. Meet me tomorrow." I've done little to ease her suspicions. Someone had targeted her, and the connection to Olivia Kane, Lucas's former partner, was too glaring to ignore. Yet, despite her anger, Hannah couldn't shake the memory of Lucas's face when he'd seen the damage, not just anger, but a flicker of guilt, as if he felt responsible. She needed to refocus to reclaim her space through her art. The vandalism had shaken her, but it wouldn't break her. She swept the debris into a corner, set up a new canvas, and began sketching, her charcoal flying across the surface in sharp, defiant lines. The image-taking shape was raw, jagged shapes clashing against soft curves, a visual scream of resilience. She worked until dawn, her hands smudged black, her mind clearer, but still restless. Her phone buzzed with a new message from Lucas. "I'm coming by at noon. I have an idea to make this right." She didn't reply, unsure whether to trust his intentions. But when noon arrived, Lucas knocked on the studio door, carrying a canvas bag filled with art supplies, brushes, paints, even a roll of high-grade linen canvas. He wore a simple sweater and jeans, a stark contrast to his usual tailored suits, as if he were trying to meet her on her level. "What's this?" Hannah asked, eyeing the bag. "A peace offering," Lucas said, setting it on the workbench. "You don't want my money, but I thought you could use these. And I have a proposal. Not a business deal, something else." She crossed her arms, skeptical. "I'm listening. I want to learn from you," he said, his voice steady. "I signed up for your painting class at the community center. No cameras, no PR team, just me trying to understand what drives you." Hannah raised an eyebrow. "You in a painting class? You don't strike me as the type to get your hands dirty." He smiled, a rare, unguarded expression. "I may need to. I know you think I'm just a suit with an agenda. Let me prove I'm more than that." She studied him, searching for the catch. The idea of Lucas Bennett, tech titan, sitting among her students, mostly retirees and aspiring artists, was absurd. But it was also intriguing. If he was serious, it could be a chance to see who he was away from the boardrooms and yachts. And if he were playing her, she'd spot it a mile away. "Fine," she said. "The class is tomorrow at 7 p.m. Don't be late." The community center was a squat brick building in Pioneer Square, its walls lined with murals painted by local artists. Hannah's weekly painting class was a haven for her, a place to teach, without the pressure of galleries or critics. That evening, the room was filled with familiar faces. Mrs. Delgado, who painted vibrant still lifes. Jamal, the sculptor from her studio opening, trying his hand at watercolor. And now Lucas, looking out of place in a flannel shirt, his sleeves rolled up. Hannah stood at the front, her voice clear as she outlined the session's focus: collaborative painting. "We're working on a group canvas tonight," she said, gesturing to a massive sheet stretched across the wall. "No rules, just instinct. Let the colors guide you." The students dove in their brushes, dancing across the canvas in ochre, teal, and crimson bursts. Lucas hesitated, holding a brush as if it were a foreign object. Hannah approached her, tone professional, but not unkind. "Start with something simple," she said, handing him a jar of ultramarine. "Follow the flow." He dipped the brush and made a tentative stroke, a wobbly blue arc. "This is harder than it looks," he admitted, glancing at her. "It's not about perfection," she said. "It's about feeling." They worked side by side, their brushes weaving together in a chaotic symphony. Hannah's strokes were bold and confident, while Lucas's were cautious, but growing steadier. As the canvas filled, something shifted, a quiet connection, not in words, but in the shared act of creation. For the first time, Hannah saw him not as a threat, but as someone trying to understand her world. When the class ended, the students returned to admire their work, a vibrant, abstract mural that captured the room's energy. Lucas wiped paint from his hands, a smudge of green on his cheek. "I get it now," he said softly. "Why do you fight so hard for this?" Hannah met his gaze, her guard still up, but softening. "Art's not just paint on a canvas," she said. "It's who we are." He nodded, and for a moment, the tension between them eased. But as they cleaned up, Hannah spotted something in the corner of the room, a small security camera, its red light blinking. She froze. The community center didn't have cameras. She approached it, her heart racing, and found a tiny logo etched on the side, Kane Enterprises. "Lucas," she said, her voice sharp. "Look at this." He joined her, his expression darkening as he recognized the logo. "Olivia," he muttered. "She's behind the vandalism, isn't she?" Hannah's mind raced. The keychain now, the camera, was too much to be a coincidence. "Why would she target me?" she asked. "This isn't just about you." Lucas shook his head. "I don't know, but I'll find out." The next day, Hannah dug deeper, combing through old articles about Olivia Kane. She found a profile from a tech magazine describing Olivia as a brilliant but volatile entrepreneur who'd parted ways with Lucas after a failed joint venture. The article hinted at bad blood. Olivia had accused Lucas of stealing her ideas, though no proof ever surfaced. Hannah also found a blog post from an obscure art forum mentioning Olivia's brief stint as an art collector, including a purchase from a Pioneer Square gallery years ago. Could that connect to the vandalism? She called Lucas, her voice tense. "I found a camera with the Kane Enterprises logo in the community center. You need to tell me everything you know about Olivia." He sighed, his voice heavy over the phone. "Meet me at my office. I'll lay it all out." In Lucas's office, the city skyline framed him as he spoke. "Olivia was my partner early on," he said. "We built a startup together, but she wanted to take risks I wasn't comfortable with. We split and she never forgave me. She's been trying to undermine me ever since, leaking rumors, poaching clients. But targeting you, that's new." Hannah leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "Why me?" "What's her angle?" "I don't know," he admitted. "But she's calculated. If she's coming after you, it's to hurt me, or to control something we haven't seen yet." Hannah's jaw tightened. "I need transparency. Lucas, no more surprises. If you're holding anything back, I'm done." He met her gaze, unflinching. "I'm telling you everything. Let me handle Olivia. I'll get to the bottom of this." She nodded, but trust was still a fragile thing. The kitschiness of the moment, their shared painting, the fleeting connection, clashed with the camera's reality, a reminder that someone was watching, waiting to strike. Hannah knew she couldn't rely on Lucas alone. She'd protect her art community and herself, no matter the cost. The discovery of the Kane Enterprises camera in the community center sent Hannah Lee into a spiral of determination. She wasn't just fighting for her studio now. She was fighting for her peace, reputation, and the truth. The connection to Olivia Kane was undeniable, but the why remained elusive. Hannah spent the morning in her Belltown studio, piecing together what she knew. The keychain from the vandalism, the camera, and the rumors about Lucas's plans for Pioneer Square all pointed to a deliberate campaign. But was Olivia targeting her to get to Lucas? Or was there a deeper motive? She opened her laptop, diving into public records and old news articles. Olivia Kane emerged as a shadowy figure, a tech prodigy turned recluse, known for her sharp mind and sharper grudges. One article mentioned her brief foray into the art world, including a failed attempt to buy a gallery in Pioneer Square. Hannah's pulse quickened. That gallery, now defunct, had been one of her first exhibition spaces, a small cooperative where she'd shown her early work. The connection felt too precise to be random. She texted Lucas, "We need to meet. I found something about Olivia and a gallery." His reply was immediate. "My place, 1 hour. Bring everything." Lucas's penthouse was a fortress of glass and steel, perched atop a downtown high-rise with views of Puget Sound. Hannah arrived with a folder of printouts, her expression resolute. Lucas greeted her at the door, his usual polish replaced by a tense energy. He led her to a living room with minimalist furniture and a single abstract painting on the wall, a piece she recognized from a local artist, not one of hers. "Tell me what you found," he said, gesturing to a couch. Hannah spread the articles on the coffee table. She said Olivia tried to buy a gallery in Pioneer Square years ago. It went under shortly after. I showed my first pieces there. If she's targeting me, it might tie back to that. Lucas's brow furrowed as he scanned the papers. He said I didn't know she was involved in art back then. But it fits. Olivia holds grudges like their currency. If she lost money on that gallery, she might blame anyone connected to it. Then why go after me now? Hannah asked. And why drag you into it? He leaned back, his jaw tight. Because I'm the bigger target. She knows hurting you gets to me. Hannah's eyes narrowed. Why would it? We're not anything. He hesitated, then met her gaze. You're not just anyone, Hannah. Your work, your fight, it's real. I respect that. And I think Olivia knows it. The admission caught her off guard, but she pushed it aside. I need the whole story, Lucas. You and Olivia. What really happened? He sighed, standing to pace the room. We were partners in a startup 10 years ago. She was brilliant but reckless, pushing for deals that were too risky. I bought her out and she took it personally. She's been trying to sabotage me ever since, but this is the first time she's gone after someone else. Hannah crossed her arms. If you're hiding anything, it's over. I can't fight a war blind. I'm not, he said, his voice firm. I'm telling you everything, but we need to move fast. Olivia's escalating. That evening, the storm broke. A news article hit the local papers accusing Lucas of tax evasion through offshore accounts linked to his art investments. The byline was anonymous, but the details were specific, citing transactions tied to the Rothko scandal years ago. Social media erupted with hashtags like #BennettScandal trending. Hannah read the article in her studio, her stomach sinking. The timing was too perfect, and the accusations were too pointed. Olivia's hand was all over it. She called Lucas, who answered on the first ring. You saw it, he said, his voice grim. It's her, Hannah asked. I'm sure of it, he said. My lawyers are already on it. It's fabricated, but it'll take time to prove. Hannah paced, her mind racing. This isn't just about you anymore. She's dragging me into it. My name's tied to yours now, and my community's turning on me. I know, he said. I'm sorry, Hannah. I never meant for this to touch you. Sorry doesn't fix it, she snapped. What's your plan? I'm suing for defamation, he said. And I've got a private investigator looking into Olivia's recent moves. She's not untouchable. Hannah hung up her resolve, hardening. She couldn't wait for Lucas to clean up the mess. She needed to act to protect her name and her art. She decided to push forward with her exhibition, a bold statement of defiance. It would be a tribute to Pioneer Square, a celebration of its artists, and a middle finger to anyone trying to tear it down. Hannah met with Clara at the Canvas Haven Gallery the next day to plan the show. Hannah said, we're calling it Unyielding Sketching, a napkin layout. Every piece will reflect the spirit of this place. Grit, heart, survival. Clara nodded, her eyes bright. It's risky given the rumors, but it's you. What do you need? Hannah said, space-time and a miracle with a wry smile. I'm reaching out to other artists. We'll make this a collective stand. Hannah's phone buzzed as they worked with an anonymous text. Back off, or the subsequent leak will be about you. Her blood ran cold. She showed it to Clara, who frowned. This is getting dangerous, Hannah. You sure you want to keep poking the bear? I don't have a choice, Hannah said. If I back down, they win. That night, she worked late, pouring her anger into a new painting. A chaotic swirl of reds and blacks, glints of gold, breaking through like hope defying destruction. As she stepped back to admire it, her phone rang. It was Lucas. We found something, he said, his voice urgent. Olivia's been buying up shell companies tied to art galleries. One of them links to the vandalism at your studio. We're close, Hannah. but you need to be careful." "Too late for that," she said, glancing at the threatening text. "She's already coming for me." The kitschiness lay in the escalating stakes, the sense that every move Hannah made drew her deeper into a web she hadn't woven. Olivia's shadow loomed larger, her motives still unclear, but Hannah was done playing defense. She'd paint fight and uncover the truth, even if it meant confronting the past she and Lucas shared. The Seattle skyline glittered beyond the windows of Hannah Lee's Belltown studio, but the light felt cold, distant. The anonymous text, "Back off, or the subsequent leak will be about you," is still burned in her mind, a silent threat that follows her like a shadow. The article accusing Lucas Bennett of tax evasion had ignited a firestorm, with local blogs and X-posts amplifying the scandal. Hashtags like #BennettScandal and #Pioneer Square Betrayal trended, and Hannah's name was dragged through the mud alongside his. The art community she'd fought for now viewed her with suspicion, as if her mere association with Lucas made her complicit in his alleged crimes. Hannah stood before a half-finished canvas, her brush hovering over a streak of crimson. The painting was a storm of jagged lines and bold colors, a visual cry of defiance against the chaos threatening to engulf her. She'd named her upcoming exhibition "Unyielding," a tribute to Pioneer Square's resilience, and she was determined to make it a reality, despite the threats and rumors. But the weight of it all, Olivia Kane's vendetta, the vandalism, the loss of her community's trust, pressed heavily on her shoulders. Her phone buzzed with a call from Lucas. She answered, her voice sharp. "What's the plan? Your scandal's tanking my reputation too." Lucas said, "I'm suing Olivia for defamation," his tone steady but urgent. "My legal team is gathering evidence to prove that the tax evasion claims are fabricated. We've also got a lead on the shell companies tied to your studio's vandalism. It's her Hannah, I'm sure of it." "Then why hasn't she been stopped?" Hannah asked, pacing the studio. "She's got cameras, keychains, fake documents. How's she getting away with this?" "She's careful," Lucas admitted. "But not perfect. My investigator found a paper trail linking her to the company that owns the camera in the community center. We're building a case, but it'll take time." "Time I don't have," Hannah snapped. "My exhibitions are in 2 weeks, and half the artists I invited are pulling out because of you." There was a pause on the line. "I'm sorry," Lucas said, and for once he sounded genuine. "Let me help. I'll fund the exhibition cover security and do whatever you need to make it happen." Hannah said, "I don't want your money, though." Her resolve wavered. The vandalism had drained her savings, and the new studio, while a gift from Lucas, came with its own costs. "I need my community back. I need them to see I'm not your pawn." "Then let's show them," he said. "Make Unyielding a statement. Invite the press, the city council, everyone. I'll back you, but it's your show, your voice." Hannah hesitated. Aligning with Lucas publicly could sink her further, but it could also amplify her message. She needed to reclaim her narrative. A high-profile exhibition was her best shot. "Fine," she said. "But if this blows up, it's on you." "It won't," he said. "I'll make sure of it." Over the next week, Hannah threw herself into preparations for Unyielding. She rallied the artists who still trusted her, including Jamal and Maya, and secured the Canvas Haven Gallery for the event. The show would feature her work alongside pieces from other Pioneer Square artists, each a love letter to their community's grit and soul. She spent long nights painting, her hands stained with ochre and indigo. She created a centerpiece titled Defiant Roots, a massive canvas of tangled lines and vibrant hues, symbolizing the neighborhood's unbreakable spirit. Lucas kept his word, providing discreet funding for security and promotion. His team arranged for press coverage, and invitations went out to local leaders, including the city council member Hannah had met on the yacht. But the media frenzy around the tax evasion scandal grew louder, with new articles hinting at more leaks to come. Hannah's name appeared in some framed as a naive artist seduced by Lucas's wealth. The betrayal stung, but she channeled it into her work, each brushstroke a rebuttal to the lies. One evening, as she locked up the studio, she found an envelope slipped under the door. Inside was a single sheet of paper typed in stark black ink. "Drop the show, or we expose your past." Her heart raced. Her past wasn't spotless, whose was, but there was nothing she was ashamed of. Still, the threat felt personal, as if someone knew more than they should. She called Lucas immediately. "Another threat," she said, reading him the note. "This isn't just about you anymore. They're coming for me. Send me a photo of it." Lucas said, his voice tense. "I'm meeting with my investigator tomorrow. We're close to nailing Olivia. Don't let this stop you." Hannah snapped a picture and sent it, but her hands shook as she did. She wasn't scared. Not exactly. She'd faced worse than anonymous threats, but the constant pressure was wearing her down. She needed unyielding to succeed, not just for her, but for every artist in Pioneer Square who felt their world slipping away. Lucas invited Hannah to his office to review the latest findings the day before the exhibition. She arrived with the threatening note in her bag, her expression guarded. Lucas stood by a whiteboard with timelines and names, his sleeves rolled up, looking more like a detective than a CEO. He said, "My investigator traced the shell company from the vandalism to Olivia," pointing to a chart. "She used a proxy to buy the equipment, but we found emails linking her to the deal. And the tax evasion leak. It came from a server tied to one of her old associates." Hannah crossed her arms. "That's enough for a lawsuit, right?" "It's enough to start one," Lucas said. "We filed yesterday, but Olivia's slippery. She'll deny everything unless we get hard proof." "Then get it," Hannah said, "because I'm not backing down, and I need to know you're not either." He met her gaze, a spark of determination in his eyes. "I'm not. But you need to be ready. If Olivia's behind the threats, she'll escalate when she hears about the lawsuit." Hannah nodded, her resolve hardening. "Let her. I'm done playing defense." The night of unyielding arrived, and the Canvas Haven Gallery buzzed with energy. The space was transformed, with Hannah's defiant roots dominating one wall, surrounded by works from her fellow artists, sculptures, murals, and delicate watercolors, each a testament to Pioneer Square's soul. The crowd was larger than expected, with reporters, collectors, and community members mingling under the soft glow of string lights. Hannah wore a simple black jumpsuit, her hair pulled back, her presence commanding as she greeted guests. Lucas was there, keeping a low profile in a corner, his eyes scanning the room for trouble. He'd hired extra security, and the gallery was locked tight, but Hannah couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. As she gave her opening speech, her voice steady and fierce, she felt a surge of pride. "This show is for us," she said, addressing the crowd. "For the artists, the dreamers, the fighters who make Pioneer Square what it is. No one can take that from us." The applause was thunderous, but her phone vibrated in her pocket as it died down. She slipped into a quiet corner to check at a new text from an unknown number. "You were warned. Check the news." Her stomach dropped. She opened a news app and saw the headline, "Bennett's Artist Ally, Tied to Shady Art Deal." The article was vague, hinting at a past transaction involving Hannah's early work, but it was enough to plant doubt. She found Lucas, her voice low but furious. "Another leak. They're saying I'm involved in some shady deal. This is Olivia." Lucas's jaw tightened as he read the article on her phone. "She's desperate," he said. "This is a distraction. My team's already countering it. Focus on the show." Hannah wanted to believe him, but the timing was too perfect. The night was a triumph, but the threat hung over her like a storm cloud. She needed to confront Olivia to end this before it destroyed everything she'd built. The kitschiness lay in the exhibition's success, a moment of unity overshadowed by a new attack that struck at the heart of her identity as an artist. The success of Unyielding was a fleeting victory overshadowed by the latest smear campaign. The article linking Hannah Lee to a shady art deal was thin on details, but heavy on innuendo, painting her as a pawn in Lucas Bennett's schemes. She stood in her Belltown studio the morning after the exhibition, scrolling through X posts, questioning her integrity, sold out to Bennett. What's she hiding? The words cut deep, not because they were true, but because they threatened to unravel everything she'd fought for. Her community was slipping away, and Olivia Kane was pulling the strings. Hannah knew she couldn't wait for Lucas to fix this. The threats, the vandalism, the leaks, they all pointed to Olivia, and Hannah was done being a target. She needed to confront her and demand answers face to face. She spent the day digging, using Maya's connections to track Olivia's whereabouts. A tip led her to a sleek office in downtown Seattle, the headquarters of Kane Enterprises. It was a risk, but Hannah was out of patience. She arrived at the office late afternoon, her heart pounding, but her resolve firm. The receptionist, a young woman with a clipped voice, tried to turn her away, but Hannah insisted. "Tell Olivia I'm here about Pioneer Square," she said. "She'll want to talk." Minutes later, she was ushered into a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows. Olivia Kane stood behind a glass desk, her presence commanding, despite her casual blazer and jeans. Her sharp eyes assessed Hannah, a faint smile playing on her lips. "Ms. Lee," she said, her voice smooth. "I wondered when you'd show up." Hannah said, "I'm not here to play games," her tone icy. "The vandalism, the camera, the leaks, stop it. Now." Olivia raised an eyebrow, unfazed. Bold accusations. "Got any proof?" Hannah said. "I've got a keychain from your company at my trashed studio," pulling it from her pocket and tossing it onto the desk. "And a camera with your logo in my community center. Want to explain?" Olivia picked up the keychain, twirling it between her fingers. "Careless of someone," she said. "But no proof. You're in over your head, Hannah. Lucas Bennett's a snake and you're caught in his coils." "Then why target me?" Hannah demanded. "If this is about him, why trash my work? Why threaten me?" Olivia leaned forward, her smile fading. "Because you're his weakness. He's obsessed with your art and fire. If I want to hurt him, I go through you." Hannah's stomach twisted. "So the leaks, the vandalism, is it all to get to him?" "Partly," Olivia said, her voice cold. "But I don't like seeing Pioneer Square become his pet project. I had plans for that neighborhood once. He ruined them." Hannah's mind flashed to the failed gallery purchase she'd read about. "The gallery you tried to buy," she said. "The one that went under. You blame Lucas for that." Olivia's eyes darkened. "He undercut me, drove up the price, until I couldn't compete. The gallery collapsed, and so did my stake in the art world. Now he's playing savior with you. I'm not letting him rewrite history." Hannah clenched her fists. "So, you trash my studio, leak lies about me." "Collateral damage," Olivia said with a shrug. "Walk away from him, Hannah. Save yourself." Before Hannah could respond, the office door burst open. Two men in dark jackets stormed in, their faces obscured by caps. One grabbed Hannah's arm, the other lunged for Olivia. Instinct kicked in. Hannah twisted free, holding a heavy paperweight from the desk and swinging it at the attacker's head. He stumbled, cursing, as Olivia ducked behind her desk, shouting for security. The men recovered quickly, one pulling a knife. Hannah's heart raced, but she held her ground, clutching the paperweight. The door flew open again, and Lucas charged in, tackling the armed man to the floor. Security arrived seconds later, restraining the attackers as Hannah and Olivia caught their breath. Lucas stood his chest, heaving, his eyes locked on Hannah. "Are you okay?" She nodded, her pulse still pounding. "What are you doing here?" "I had my investigator tail you," he said, his voice low. "I knew you'd go after Olivia. I didn't want you facing her alone." Olivia stood brushing off her blazer. Charming Lucas, always playing the hero. "Enough," he snapped. "This ends now, Olivia. The police are on their way." As security held the attackers, Olivia's composure cracked. "You think you've won," she hissed. "Ask him about the gallery, Hannah. Ask him why it really went under." The police arrived, cuffing the attackers and taking Olivia for questioning. Hannah turned to Lucas, her eyes blazing. What did she mean? What about the gallery? Lucas's jaw tightened, but he didn't look away. "Not here," he said. "Let's go somewhere safe." They ended up at Hannah's studio, where she felt grounded. Lucas stood by the window, his expression heavy as he spoke. The gallery. Olivia mentioned it, was a small cooperative in Pioneer Square. I was investing in startups back then and saw potential in the art scene. I made an offer to buy it, but the owners resisted. I pushed too hard and leveraged some of the debts they owed. They went bankrupt. Hannah's chest tightened. "That was my first gallery. My work was there." "I know," he said, his voice quiet. "I didn't connect the dots until recently. I never meant to hurt you, Hannah. It was just business." "Just business," she repeated, her voice rising. "That gallery was my start, my community, and you crushed it." "I was wrong," he said, meeting her gaze. "I can't undo it, but I'm trying to make it right." Hannah turned away, her hands shaking. The kitschiness lay in the confrontation, the moment she'd faced Olivia, and survived only to uncover a truth that cut deeper than any threat. Lucas's past had shaped her own, and now she had to decide whether to trust his redemption or walk away for good. The Belltown studio was silent, save for the faint hum of Seattle's evening traffic filtering through the windows. Hannah Lee stood before her latest canvas, a half-finished swirl of stormy grays and muted golds, her brush idle in her hand. Lucas Bennett's confession hung in the air like damp fog years ago. His aggressive business tactics had bankrupted the small Pioneer Square gallery, where Hannah had first exhibited her work. The revelation was a gut punch, connecting her past struggles to the man she'd begun to trust. She set the brush down, her hands trembling, and faced him. "How could you not know?" she asked, her voice low but sharp. "You said you didn't connect the dots but knew my name. You saw my signature at the exhibition." Lucas stood by the window, his shoulders tense, the city skyline framing him in sharp relief. "I didn't," he said, his voice heavy. "I was focused on numbers, deals, margins, acquisitions. I didn't look at the people caught in the fallout. Your name was just one on a list." "A list?" Hannah's eyes narrowed. "That gallery was my start, Lucas. It was where I found my voice. And you crushed it without a second thought." He met her gaze, unflinching, but pained. "I was wrong. I can't change what I did, but I'm trying to make it right now." How, she demanded. "By throwing money at me. A new studio, a funded exhibition. That doesn't erase the past." "No, it doesn't," he admitted. "But it's a start. I'm not that person anymore, Hannah. Meeting you and seeing your work has shown me what I missed back then. Art isn't just a commodity. It's a fight, a story. I want to help you tell yours." Hannah turned away, her chest tight. She wanted to believe him, but the betrayal was raw. That gallery had been her lifeline, where she'd poured her heart into her first shaky abstracts and met artists who became her family. Its collapse had forced her into months of odd jobs scraping by, while her dreams hung by a thread. And now the man responsible stood in her studio, asking for a chance to redeem himself. "I need time," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "I can't do this right now." Lucas nodded, his expression somber. I understand. I'll give you space. But if you need me, I'm here. He left quietly, the door clicking shut behind him. Hannah sank onto a stool, staring at the canvas. The grays seemed darker now, the golds duller. She picked up her brush, but no strokes came. Instead, she grabbed her coat and headed out into the night, needing the city's pulse to clear her mind. Hannah wandered Pioneer Square's cobblestone streets, the familiar sights grounding her. The neon sign of a dive bar flickered, casting a warm glow over the alley's murals. She stopped at the sight of the old gallery, now a shuttered storefront with faded paint. Memories flooded back, late nights painting with other artists, the thrill of her first sale, the sting of the closure notice. She'd blamed the economy. Bad luck, anything but the truth Lucas had just revealed. Her phone buzzed with a text from Maya. Her curator friend heard about the drama with Olivia. You okay? Hannah typed a quick reply. Not really. Need to talk. She headed to Maya's loft, a cozy space filled with art books and half-finished sculptures. Over coffee, Hannah spilled everything: Lucas's confession, Olivia's schemes, the weight of her community's distrust. Maya listened, her expression thoughtful. Lucas sounds like he's trying, she said. But you don't owe him forgiveness. That gallery meant something to all of us. If he's serious about correcting it, let him prove it with actions, not words. And Olivia, Hannah asked. She's still out there pulling strings. She's desperate, Maya said. That attack in her office. She's losing control. But be careful, Hannah. She's not done yet. Hannah nodded, her resolve hardening. She couldn't undo the past, but she could shape the future. Unyielding had been a success, but it wasn't enough. She needed to reclaim her narrative to show that she was still one of her community members. And if Lucas wanted to be part of that, he'd have to earn it. Over the next few days, Hannah threw herself into her work, channeling her anger and hurt into a new series of paintings. Each canvas was a meditation on loss and rebirth, with bold slashes of color cutting through dark backgrounds, like light breaking through a storm. She avoided Lucas, ignoring his texts and needing space to process. But the news cycle didn't let up. Olivia's defamation campaign continued, with new articles questioning Lucas's business dealings and hinting at more leaks about Hannah's past. One morning, the gallery owner, Clara, called her with a lead. I heard from a contact at the city archives, she said. There's a record of the gallery's bankruptcy filings. Lucas's company is listed as a creditor. It's not proof he meant to hurt you, but it's part of the story. Hannah's stomach twisted. Can you get me a copy? Already on its way, Clara said. What are you going to do with it? I don't know yet, Hannah admitted, but I need to understand everything. The documents arrived that afternoon, a dense stack of legal jargon. Hannah pored over them, her heart sinking as she traced the chain of events. Lucas's company had bought the gallery's debt, then called it in when the owners couldn't pay. It wasn't illegal, but it was ruthless, the move that prioritized profit over people. She felt a mix of anger and sadness, not just for herself, but for the other artists who'd lost their platform. She texted Lucas. Got the bankruptcy files. We need to talk. He replied instantly. My office whenever you're ready. At Bennett Innovations. Lucas met her in a quiet conference room, the city sprawling beyond the glass walls. He looked tired, his usual polish dulled by the strain of the lawsuit against Olivia. Hannah set the documents on the table, her expression unyielding. I read the filings, she said. You didn't just invest in the gallery. You forced it under. Lucas exhaled, running a hand through his hair. I didn't know the full impact, he said. I was young, arrogant, chasing deals. The gallery was one of dozens we acquired. I didn't see the human cost. That's not an excuse, Hannah said, her voice steady. You changed my life, Lucas. Not just mine. Everyone who relied on that space. I know, he said, his eyes meeting hers. I can't fix the past, but I can do better now. Please tell me what you need. Hannah leaned back, studying him. His sincerity seemed real, but trust was a fragile thing. I need space, she said. And I was hoping you could prove you're not that person anymore. Not with money, with actions. He nodded, his jaw tight. I will. Whatever it takes. She left the office, her mind a storm of conflicting emotions. Lucas's past had wounded her, but his willingness to own it sparked hope. She needed time to think, paint, and find her path through the wreckage. The kitschiness lay in the truth, raw and painful, forcing her to confront not just Lucas's mistakes, but her own resilience, and whether she could forgive without forgetting. Hannah Lee's studio felt like a sanctuary again, the air thick with the scent of linseed oil and possibility. She stood before her latest painting, a sprawling canvas titled Reborn, where vibrant greens and golds burst through layers of charcoal gray, a testament to healing through creation. The past week had been a whirlwind. Lucas Bennett's confession about the gallery, the ongoing smear campaign from Olivia Kane, and the anonymous threats still lingering in her inbox. But Hannah was done hiding. She decided to move forward, not just for herself, but for Pioneer Square and every artist who'd ever been pushed aside by power. Her phone buzzed with a message from Clara. Big news. Check the headlines. Hannah opened a news app and froze. The headline read, Bennett Innovations halts Pioneer Square redevelopment amid community concerns. The article detailed Lucas's decision to scrap a major tech campus project, citing feedback from local artists and residents. Instead, his company would fund a restoration initiative, preserving historic buildings and creating affordable studio spaces. Her heart raced. This wasn't just a PR move, a sacrifice, a step toward the redemption he'd promised. She texted Lucas. Saw the news. Is this real? His reply was swift. It's real. Meet me at the old gallery site. I want to show you something. Hannah arrived at the shuttered storefront in Pioneer Square, the faded sign of the old gallery barely visible. Lucas stood outside, dressed in a simple jacket and jeans, a blueprint rolled under his arm. The street was quiet, the evening light casting long shadows across the cobblestones. Thanks for coming, he said, his voice steady. I wanted you to see this first. He unrolled the blueprint, revealing plans for a community arts center on the site of the old gallery. The design was thoughtful, open studios, a small gallery, a workshop space for youth, all built to blend with the neighborhood's historic charm. This is my commitment, he said. No condos, no tech campus. Just a place for artists to create free from the kind of pressure I put on that gallery years ago. Hannah studied the plans, her fingers tracing the outlines of the studios. Why now? She asked. Why go this far? Because of you, he said, meeting her gaze. Meeting her. Your work and fight made me see what I was blind to back then. I can't undo the past, but I can build something better. She wanted to push back and question his motives, but the blueprint felt more than a gesture. It was a tangible step, a risk for a man used to winning. This doesn't erase what happened, she said. But it's a start. I know, he said. I'm not asking for forgiveness, just a chance to prove myself. Hannah nodded, her guard still up but softening. She'd spent so long fighting alone, it was strange to consider an ally like Lucas. But the art center could be a lifeline for her community, a way to heal the wounds of the past. She tucked the blueprint under her arm. I'll hold you to this, she said, every step. He smiled, a rare, unguarded expression. I wouldn't expect anything less. Over the next few days, Hannah planned a new exhibition to celebrate the art center's announcement. She called it Roots Restored, a collaboration with Pioneer Square artists to showcase the neighborhood's resilience. She contacted Jamal Maya and others who doubted her, inviting them to contribute. Slowly, the community began to rally their trust in her rebuilding, with each shared sketch and late-night planning session. Lucas worked behind the scenes, quietly funding the project without seeking credit. He met with city officials, secured permits, and ensured the art center's budget was airtight. Hannah noticed his absence from the spotlight. No press conferences, no flashy announcements. It starkly contrasted the man who'd once bulldozed her dreams. One evening, Maya pulled her aside as she hung a new painting in the Canvas Haven gallery. She said, "I got a tip from a friend in the art scene. Lucas has been buying up old debts from other failed galleries in the area, not to collect, but to forgive them. He's doing it anonymously." Hannah's brow furrowed. "Why wouldn't he tell me?" "Maybe he's trying to show you he's changed," Maya said. "Not just tell you." The revelation shifted something in Hannah. Lucas wasn't just atoning for the past. He was investing in a future she believed in. She felt a flicker of warmth, a possibility she hadn't considered. But the threat of Olivia Kane still loomed. The defamation lawsuit was moving forward, but new leaks kept surfacing, each more vicious than the last. One morning, Hannah received an email from an anonymous account. "The art center won't save you. Tell Lucas to drop the lawsuit, or we dig deeper." Attached was a photo of her old gallery contract, highlighting a clause that suggested she'd sold a piece under questionable terms. It was a stretch. Her early deals were messy but legal, but the implication could ruin her reputation. She called Lucas, her voice tense. "Another threat. They've got my old contracts. This is getting personal." "Send it to me," he said. "My investigator is close to pinning Olivia. We found a digital footprint linking her to the leaks. If we push, she'll crack." "Then push," Hannah said. "I'm not backing down." That afternoon, Lucas's team released a statement refuting the latest leak, backed by evidence that the contract was standard for the time. The press began to shift, with some outlets questioning Olivia's credibility. Hannah felt a spark of hope, but knew the fight wasn't over. The night of Roots Restored arrived, and the Canvas Haven gallery was packed. Hannah's Reborn hung at the center, surrounded by works from her fellow artists, vibrant murals, delicate ceramics, bold photographs. The crowd included city officials, collectors, and locals, all drawn by the promise of a new pioneer square. Hannah spoke passionately, her voice carrying over the hum of the crowd. "This is our home," she said. "No one can take that from us. This show is our stand, our promise to keep creating no matter what." The applause was deafening, and Hannah felt a surge of pride. Lucas stood near the back, his eyes on her, a quiet smile on his face. After the speech, he approached, holding 2 glasses of wine. "You were incredible," he said, handing her one. "Thanks," she said, taking the glass. "This doesn't mean we're okay." "I know," he said, "but I'm here for the long haul." As the night wound down, Hannah stepped outside, needing air. Lucas followed, standing a respectful distance away. "I meant what I said," he told her. "The art center's just the beginning. I want to build something honest with you." She looked at him, her heart torn. His actions spoke louder than his words, but the past still lingered. "Keep building," she said. "We'll see where it goes." The kitschiness lay in the moment: Lucas's quiet sacrifice, Hannah's cautious hope, and the art center rising from the ashes of her past. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, she felt they might walk it together, one careful step at a time. The success of Roots Restored sent ripples through Seattle's art community, a defiant stand that rekindled Hannah Lee's connection to Pioneer Square. The Canvas Haven Gallery had been packed, the air electric with shared purpose, as artists and locals rallied around the vision of a revitalized neighborhood. Yet the shadow of Olivia Kane's schemes lingered. Her leaks and threats had wounded Hannah's reputation, and though Lucas Bennett's defamation lawsuit was gaining traction, the battle was far from over. Hannah stood in her Belltown studio, Surrounded by sketches for the new art center, her mind racing. She'd reclaimed her community's trust, but needed to bury Olivia's lies. Lucas had texted her that morning. "We've got new evidence. Meet me at my office at noon." Hannah arrived at Bennett Innovations, her boots echoing on the marble floor of the sleek lobby. She wore a tailored blazer and jeans, her hair pulled into a loose braid, projecting a confidence she was still rebuilding. Lucas greeted her in a conference room, where a whiteboard was covered with timelines, emails, and a grainy photo of a woman in a hoodie near Hannah's vandalized studio. "We traced the leaks," Lucas said, pointing to the whiteboard. "Olivia used a network of proxies to spread the tax evasion story and the smear about your old contract. My investigator hacked into a burner account she thought was secure. We've got emails tying her to the vandalism and the camera in the community center." Hannah's pulse quickened as she scanned the evidence screenshots of encrypted messages, bank transfers to a security firm, and a blurred image of the Kane Enterprises keychain. "This is enough to nail her, right?" she asked. "It's close," Lucas said, his voice steady. "We're presenting this to the court tomorrow. But we need to go public too. Clear your name and mine before she twists the narrative again." Hannah nodded, her jaw tight. "I'm in. Let's do a press conference tied to the Art Center announcement. Show the world what we're fighting for." Lucas's eyes softened with respect. "You're sure it'll put you in the spotlight again?" "I've been in the dark too long," Hannah said. "It's time to fight back with the truth." The press conference was set for the next day, at the site of the old Pioneer Square Gallery, now cleared for the art center's construction. Hannah and Lucas worked late into the night, crafting a statement with his PR team. The plan was simple, but bold. Present the evidence against Olivia, unveil the art center's final plans, and announce a joint exhibition with Hannah's work alongside other local artists. The show, titled Unbroken Spirit, would be a global showcase with stops in New York and London, funded by Lucas, but curated entirely by Hannah. The morning of the press conference dawned crisp and clear, the Seattle sky a rare, unclouded blue. The old gallery site was cordoned off, and a temporary stage was set up with a banner reading, "Pioneer Square Art Center, a new beginning." Reporters crowded the area, cameras flashing as Hannah stepped to the podium, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "Thank you for coming," she began, gripping the microphone. "Pioneer Square is more than a place. It's a community, a home for artists who fought to keep their voices alive. Recent lies have tried to tear us apart, but today we're setting the record straight." She outlined Olivia's campaign, fake articles, vandalism threats, while Lucas presented the evidence beside her. The crowd murmured as he displayed the emails and bank records, each a nail in Olivia's coffin. Lucas said, "We're not just fighting for our names," his tone firm. "We're fighting for this neighborhood, its artists, and its future. Our commitment to the Art Center is to that." The reporters erupted with questions, but Hannah felt a surge of relief. The truth was out, and the response was immediate. X posts shifted with #Unbroken Spirit trending alongside praise for the Art Center. Local artists who'd shunned her began reaching out, offering support for the exhibition. International outlets picked up the story by evening, framing Hannah and Lucas as champions of a struggling arts community. As the crowd dispersed, Hannah turned to Lucas. "We did it," she said, a small smile breaking through her fatigue. "Not yet," he said, his eyes gleaming. "The exhibition's next. Let's make it unforgettable." The weeks leading to Unbroken Spirit were a blur of activity. Hannah rallied artists across Pioneer Square, curating a collection that spanned paintings, sculptures, and multimedia installations. Her centerpiece, Reborn, was joined by a new work, a massive mural titled Triumph, where swirling blues and golds danced over a foundation of black, symbolizing victory over adversity. Lucas secured a prestigious gallery in New York for the show's debut, with plans for a London run after. He stayed out of the creative process, letting Hannah lead, but his quiet support logistics funding security was a lifeline. A courier delivered a letter as Hannah hung triumph in the Canvas Haven Gallery for a preview one evening. The handwriting was sharp, and the envelope was marked with a prison stamp. Hannah's stomach twisted as she opened it, recognizing Olivia's name. The letter was brief, but cutting. Hannah, you think you've won, but don't know half of it. I envied your talent, your fire. I wanted to be seen the way you are. Lucas took that from me, and I took it out on you. I'm sorry, but it's too late. Hannah read it twice, her hands steady, but her mind racing. Olivia's confession was raw, a mix of jealousy and regret. It didn't excuse her actions, but humanized her, revealing a woman driven by her own wounds. Hannah showed the letter to Lucas, who arrived moments later to check on the preview. She's broken, Lucas said, scanning the words. This is her admitting defeat. Maybe, Hannah said, her voice soft. But it's also a warning. She's still holding something back. Lucas nodded, his jaw tight. I'll have my team look into it. But tonight, focus on the show. This is your moment. Hannah met his gaze, feeling a shift. His support and willingness to step back and let her shine were more than she'd expected. Thank you, she said, the words carrying weight, for standing by me. He smiled, a rare warmth in his eyes. Always. The preview was a triumph, with local artists and collectors praising Unbroken Spirit as a turning point for Pioneer Square. The international buzz grew, and Hannah felt her community knitting back together stronger than before. The kitschiness lay in the victory, the truth exposed, the art center rising, and Olivia's confession cracking open her motives. But Hannah knew the story wasn't over. Olivia's letter hinted at deeper secrets, and she'd need to stay vigilant to protect what she'd built. The Seattle waterfront sparkled under a late summer sun, the air alive with the scent of salt and cedar. The Pioneer Square Art Center stood proudly on the site of the old gallery, its brick facade restored to blend with the neighborhood's historic charm. Inside, open studios buzzed with activity, painters mixing colors, sculptors shaping clay, and young students sketching under the guidance of local artists. Hannah Lee stood at the center of it all, her heart full as she watched the space she'd dreamed of come to life. The art center was more than a building. It was a promise kept, a legacy for the community she loved. Today was the grand opening, a celebration marked by a free art school for Seattle's youth, funded by Lucas Bennett's foundation, but driven by Hannah's vision. She wore a flowing dress in deep teal, her hair loose, her presence radiating quiet strength. The courtyard was packed with artist locals and city officials, all gathered to mark the occasion. A mural she'd painted with her students, a vibrant collage of the city's skyline, and abstract swirls adorned the exterior wall, symbolizing unity. Lucas stood nearby, his usual suit replaced by a simple button-down, blending into the crowd. He'd kept his promise to stay out of the spotlight, letting Hannah and the artists shine. Over the past months, their partnership has deepened and been built on shared purpose and hard-won trust. The success of Unbroken Spirit had gone global, with sold-out shows in New York and London, cementing Hannah's reputation and rallying support for the art center. Olivia Kane's defamation campaign had collapsed under the weight of evidence, her confession letter sealing her fate. She remained in custody, facing charges for vandalism and fraud, her influence shattered. As the opening ceremony began, Hannah took the stage, her voice clear over the hum of the crowd. She said, "This center is for every artist who's ever felt pushed aside. It's for the kids who need a place to dream, for the community that refused to break. We built this together, and it's just the beginning." The applause was thunderous, and Hannah's eyes met Lucas's across the courtyard. He gave her a slight nod, a silent acknowledgement of their journey. She stepped down, mingling with guests, when a young woman approached a teenager with paint-splattered jeans and a shy smile. "Ms. Lee," the girl said. "I'm Tara. I'm one of the students here. Thank you." Hannah smiled, touched. "Thank you for being here, Tara. What do you paint abstracts like you?" Tara said, her eyes bright. "But I almost didn't. Someone tried to pay me to spy on you last year. Said they'd fund my art if I dug up dirt. I said no, but it scared me off painting for a while." Hannah's heart skipped. "Who was it?" Tara hesitated, then whispered, "They worked for Olivia Kane. I didn't know what to do, but this place gave me a reason to keep going." Hannah squeezed her shoulder, her mind racing. Olivia's reach had been deeper than she'd realized, but Tara's story was proof of the art center's impact. "You're here now," she said. "That's what matters. Keep painting." As Tara walked away, Lucas joined Hannah, his expression serious. "I heard what she said. Olivia's gone, but we'll make sure no one else pulls that again." Hannah nodded, her resolve firm. "This place will protect them. That's why we built it." The ceremony continued with music and laughter filling the air. Lucas pulled Hannah aside as the sun dipped below the horizon, leading her to a quiet courtyard corner. He held a small velvet box, his hands steady, but his eyes nervous. "Hannah," he said, his voice low, "you've changed me. Not just my plans, but who I am. I want to build more than an art center with you. I want a life." He opened the box, revealing a ring with a delicate band, engraved with a tiny paintbrush, a nod to their shared journey. "Will you marry me?" Hannah's breath caught her heart, a tangle of joy and caution. She'd fought so hard to trust and believe in his redemption. The ring, the art center, and quiet support proved his change. But love was a leap, and she'd learned to guard her heart. "Yes," she said finally, her voice soft but sure. "But we do this our way. Equal partners, no secrets." He smiled, slipping the ring onto her finger. "Always." The crowd erupted in cheers as they noticed, and Hannah laughed, the sound mingling with the music. The kitschiness lay in the moment, love born from struggle, a new beginning rooted in the ashes of the past. Tara's story echoed in Hannah's mind, a reminder of the next generation they'd nurture. The art center was their legacy, a canvas for dreams, and together they'd paint a future as vibrant as the city they called home.